This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
Genuinely, two things. First, what doing the inner work is activism from the conscious perspective, because as you raise your vibration, you raise everyone else's around you, you anchor more stuff into the earth. And all of these things that are happening in America and around the world are reflections of the individual. So we create all of these social movements, the political, everything from the individual level upwards. So doing the work is activism now. And doing what is aligned with your soul, as in your soul's purpose here and in any given moment, is activism. It is not about getting on board the collective emotional trains. That is the shadow drain that's going through the collective rather than anything that's actually helpful.
Welcome to Emotionally Unavailable, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of emotional availability and intimacy. I'm your host, Malisa Hepner, and I can't tell you how excited I am to have you join me on this journey of self-discovery and connection. Whether you're navigating the complexities of relationships or exploring your own emotional landscape, this podcast is here to inspire, empower, and entertain. So get cozy and let's explore the depths of human emotions together. Hi guys, happy Wednesday. Today's guest is V. Asimov. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. I never asked. I'm sorry if you can hear my dog in the background. He's running around being crazy, so that's cute. V is, I'm just going to read off her profile really quick. It says, you may call me V. I'm an intuitive mirror, shadow, and polarity master. Forever student, and professional button pusher specializing in alchemical transmutation, soul retrieval and reintegration, and closing karmic loops. I'm an existential detective here to uncover the real you beneath the unaligned beliefs you were fed before you were able to filter them. My purpose here is to lovingly reflect the parts of you that are ready to break out of hiding and help you actually use them to your advantage. I'm all about joyously recognizing your light and uniqueness in expression and dissecting darkness with psyche melting precision. No fluff, no spiritual bypassing, no vibe policing. We're all in on non-judgment and non-duality. Your candid story is important. It's the key to your healing, and there's really nothing you could tell me to make me shy away from the complex nature of the human experience. I live for the raw, sometimes hilarious, sometimes uncomfortable process of stripping back the disempowered bizarro you and allowing your authentic genius in your own way, self, back into the light where it belongs. Helping people take back their sovereignty and inner power lights my fire hard. I've been described as a human psychedelic as well as a trauma-seeking missile. My energy facilitates potent transformation using almost entirely conversational methods to lead you out of the labyrinth of the mind toward emotional expression, soul clearing, and clarity. I'm a fierce advocate for the inner child, and whilst I'm direct and have a strong energy, it's also all-loving. I know that beneath our darkness lies a younger version of us trying to be seen and held, and I'm about finding them and bringing them back to the light. Okay, so V is my new friend. She's very cool, very kind. We actually recorded twice, so you are going to get her both Wednesday and Friday. Probably wouldn't have put them that close together, but I think it worked out because I think it's really the second conversation was going to be much more directed, and then we just ended up going off the rails like we did the first time. But I'm glad, and I like to let these things unfold the way they go, and oh man, I can still remember the visceral response I felt, like how energized I felt after talking with her, just totally vibing. And then here's what's really cool. So I think after the first conversation, yes, the first one, I was like, dude, and I don't remember if this made it into the cut of the episode or not, because I ended up having to, because we just kind of, we were wrapping up and then we just kept talking. So I just found a cutoff point. So it kind of just cuts off at the end of this episode. But I remember talking to her and being like, I bet you, because we're both generators, and I was like, but I bet you, because the way generator works is there's these like gates that you have, and you close off at certain points of these gates. I'm just making this simple language, but I was like, I bet you connect to some of my closing points, and she does, and our astrology is really aligned as well. And then also, she knows more about astrology than me. Like, she knows about the asteroids and stuff. So she ran my chart, and yeah, it was insane. It was so amazing. I wish I could get into it, but like my intro is already 4 minutes at this point. But anyway, she is very knowledgeable, like very, 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 and comes to this knowledge by just her life experience as well. So anyway, I really love her and appreciate her, and I'm so grateful for the connection. And I know you guys are going to really like this conversation. I think that's it. I will include, so on her website has her links. So I'm just going to give you her website in the show notes, but check it out, because if you're wanting some soul work, this girl is it. Like, and she really is yes, she's direct, like in the fact that she's not afraid to be like, I think you're missing a point here, but it's not, I don't know. I've had issues in the past with cancers where, well, really any water sign, this is what I find about water signs, is that they are very blunt. And I used to be kind of triggered by that. But if you just know that going in, that it's all love, I think you're fine. Excuse me for yawning. I'm recording this early in the morning. So anyway, I'm going to go because I think I've said enough. But I love V. V, thank you so much for spending this time with me. I'm so happy that we recorded twice. So today will be part 1, Friday will be part 2, and I think you're going to love it. So, yeah, okay. If you are here for the first time or like the 260th time, I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here. Please be patient with ads. They are an income source, which every indie podcaster needs. But if you hate the ads, feel free to subscribe to the Patreon. It's very cheap and affordable. At the $10 level per month, you get my monthly workbook for free. Well, included. And that saves you like $5 on the monthly workbook. So, okay, I'm going. I think that's it. 7 minutes later. It's been a minute since I've recorded an intro this long. But, okay. So, all right. I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Here's me and V.
Emotionally unavailable.
That I had to troubleshoot and the internet. So it's 2 a.m. here. So I was like frantically
God,
trying
honey,
to figure it
what
out.
the hell? Sorry, where are you?
In Melbourne, Australia.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. Our time difference is fucking weird.
It's a large one.
I feel sorry for you. Well,
No,
it's
it's
really
fine.
nice to
I
meet
had
you.
enough.
I was looking at your website earlier and what you had written in my, obligatory question of things to know about you.
Mhm.
What the fuck is an existential detective? How do you define that?
Well, I took the label, the inspiration from I Heart Huckabees, in which a couple of the main characters are existential detectives. And what they do is they track back people's kind of childhood stories, their belief systems through synchronicities. And that is essentially what I do. Like I hear people out. I hear the struggles, the challenges they're going through, or whatever triggers they've got, or whatever belief systems they have, and I help them track it back to where it originated and feel out all the emotion. And it closes what I call karmic loops. But I think what it's essentially doing is kind of wrapping up the story in the nervous system, which then allows them to move forward without that kind of belief system replaying in their reality.
Mm, that's really cool. So then that definitely lends itself to the shadow work. How do you are you like tailoring shadow work? Are you sending it to your clients? Are you talking about it out loud? Like how are you doing that?
I'm talking about it out loud with them. Like shadow work to me is kind of seeing something in your external reality and having some kind of a reaction to it in a negative way or struggling with it and reflecting on that, reflecting on where the story comes from emotionally, to me anyway. And what I feel like makes shadow work is feeling it out afterwards, like, or once finding the root cause, which ends it. So there's a lot of people that use shadow work kind of intellectually, they'll journal, but it doesn't actually solve the problem, so to speak. It makes you very conscious about yourself and your belief systems and things like that. But to me, it never actually fixed anything. But what fixed it was the emotional expression.
Right.
So
So
yeah, I'm
how
doing it in
so you're
conversation.
basically saying integration. How are you having people do that?
Well, I talk to them like we just do Zoom calls, and sometimes I'll get kind of like psychic insight, but it's more like I'll just start asking questions, and it kind of gets deeper and deeper within their psyche. I feel like
Yeah,
it's a very precision thing.
that's so cool. Well, whenever I started, it's been I you know how you kind of forget stuff until someone jogs your memory? Going through your website and then your TikTok, which by the way, I really like your TikTok. I started following you. Um,
Thank you.
I because you were talking about Christ consciousness on a post, it kind of reminded me of what I thought that meant the very first time I heard it, which I'm super triggered by Christianity because I just have not worked through my religious wounding. Honestly, that's just the truth of it because I can't even entertain the conversation.
Yeah,
With people who have those beliefs, it's very difficult for me. Even the word God gets me fucking up. Like I'm escalated every time. And I've at least gotten to the point where I recognize that's a me problem and not a them problem.
mhm,
My Leo moon ass took forever to get to there. Like where I was like, oh yeah, honey, that's about you. So anyway, I recognize it's an issue for me. And so I really do want to be able to work through it because I should be able to have at least a civil conversation where I can hear someone talk about their shit and me not be super triggered by it. So I
yeah,
remember the first time I heard the word Christ consciousness that I thought it meant something different than what it does, but it triggered how I came to my own Christ consciousness, which was through understanding mirroring and I understood it as a concept and I was being very like investigative about it. Like, okay, I know this is a theory. Let me try to apply this. Like, if I'm upset, what am I upset in myself for? Like, this is not about
yes,
that. So, really digging every time. And it was when I started to realize how much compassion I really had grown for myself and could then extend that to others, but only because I could see the me in them. I could see how I do that too. And so
yes,
I'd be, oh, okay. And then it was like, that was just an opening for me to be like, "We really are all one. Like, we are
literally.
not different." Yeah. So, that was how I kinda stumbled upon my own understanding of Christ consciousness. So, anyway, I don't even know why I brought that up. I really liked your TikTok, but it was funny how many things really jogged through in terms of what my spiritual awakening has been like, because for me, like, astrology really did it for me because it gave me a safe thing to believe in again because I was like I'd kinda gotten to where I'm like, I don't believe in anything, like, nothing happens when we die, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. I was just very angry,
Yeah.
and seeing my astrological blueprint, I was like, "Oh, okay, I like maps, I like structure, I like," so, like, just kind of feeling like, "Oh, there is a purpose," and I'd been seeing a medium, like, for my I wanted to communicate with my parents because I needed to know that they were proud of me after all these years, but, so just, like, little tiny steps of the process, but shadow work in there was different when I tried to do it before healing, because it
Okay.
is all very intellectual if you don't have any understanding of your wounding, and I really didn't. I really did not understand anything about myself at that point, which was really annoying
Yeah.
to because I thought I knew everything.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we all do.
Really? Well, thank you for saying that because I felt very, like, isolated in that experience, like, wow, I was really dumb because I didn't know that I had so many blind spots, like, so many.
No, I mean, how could be? That's kind of the nature of them, right? Like they're blind spots for a reason.
Yes, yes. So how did you get into this work?
Oh man, well, I was kind of like you, except I didn't go through the whole religious trauma first. So I kind of went atheist very, very young because of a specific kind of moment in my backstory.
Mhm,
And then I lived most of my life as an atheist, like and I mean, like, I wouldn't even read my sun sign in the newspaper kind of thing. Like, it was all ridiculous to me.
mhm.
And then I was reading a comic book one day, and suddenly I think I had a Kundalini awakening. And suddenly I saw what I call all the cogs and gears of the universe. I saw how time operates backwards and forwards, how everything links together. It just all kind of happened at once. I'm like crying at, I don't know, 3 a.m. reading this comic book. And and then I followed like a succession of kind of gurus or like people who understood this
Yeah.
stuff. Like, just it was all synchronistically coming to me. And I got to
Mhm.
a certain point, and I think it was Jessa Reed who said something like pain is a roadmap. And I heard that, and I was listening to Mormon and the Method, and everything kind of clicked into place. And I was like, oh, reality is like a mirror, a literal mirror of self, same as you. And then
Yes.
just went digging. Like, I was like, I've always been so self-critical anyway,
Mhm.
and I kind of pursued shadow work like that. Like, I was like, okay, well, there's all this shadow in me, and I have to go find it. And it was through the emotional triggers, like, that led me in the right direction. And I just dug and dug and dug. And as I um, what I call transmuted all of these things, which is
Yeah.
essentially the emotional expression. It was like all of these kind of downloads were coming in, and I'm picking stuff up from like Bashar and ceremonial magic. And it's just, uh, in the last couple of years, it all just kind of happened at once. And I find myself with this skill set and loving to dig into people. Like, it is my passion to
Yeah.
find more in people, like help them investigate. It's just the funnest thing in the world. So here I
No,
am.
I love that. I love that. What little spirituality I bring into my therapy practice makes me crave doing more of, like, what you're doing on that level
Yeah.
because I feel like there's so many regulations around you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just I just feel like I'd be probably happier in that space than, like, an official therapeutic space. But, okay, I have to ask you, do you have prominent Virgo placements?
Yes, absolutely. Virgo is my rising, my moon, and my Venus.
Okay, okay, I knew it because I'm like,
Yes,
you don't become self-critical without fucking prominent Virgo placements.
absolutely agree. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, because I'm an Aries rising, Gemini sun, Leo moon,
Uh-huh.
Venus is in Gemini, lots of air, but then my Virgo is, Mars, Saturn, and Jupiter, and my Saturn and
Oh,
Jupiter are almost conjunct, like, some people would call they're within 3 degrees, so, yeah, it's very interesting. In my 6th house, obviously, because 'cause I'm an Aries rising,
oof.
so, boy, the overcoming but, man, I feel Virgo energy off people 'cause the self-hatred component is just so, like, wild, and that was really again, that's how astrology really informed me looking into each part of who I was because I was like, "Huh." well, I know this just from exploration, so how is that, like, in me, you know?
Yes.
So, I feel whenever I was just reading your stuff, I was like, "Oh, I feel like we're a lot alike." So, that's so cool.
It seems like it, yeah, from what you're saying. I'm like, "Oh, done the shadow work, like, reality's a mirror, you go digging." I love it.
Yeah, and it was literally just like, I hear something, I wanna go dig and see how it's true in me. So when you were
Yes.
talking, I was like, "Oh my god, this is like, resonating so hard." And, okay, so I have to ask you this as a Virgo moon, because I have a Virgo moon child, and I have interacted a lot with Virgo moons.
Mm.
Was your well, I'd like to know if you still struggle with this. Do you have trouble with love through, like, criticism? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and can you see where that would have happened in the past? Because that's my experience with Virgo moons is they love by fucking pointing out everything about you that you need to fix about yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Virgo, I think of it more like Virgo is a healer just as much as Pisces is. So that's the healing axis. And I think what we're trying to do is help people find um, parts of themselves that aren't in resonance with their actual soul or their actual authenticity.
Mhm.
But that can feel a lot like criticism at times.
Well, and
Definitely.
if you're talking about somebody who has a lot of shadows they haven't, like, explored, the love is different, you know, because there's a lot of projection in that. So, like with I have a client who's been in a relationship with a Virgo moon for about a year now. And it cracks me up because every single time I'm like, baby, that's just the Virgo moon. Like, you know that. Why are you taking that personally? You know, like at least I
Yes.
do, my clients do, like, they know I'm into astrology. They know I'm going to bring it up. And so they like it usually. So, like, that one's been very informed. Okay, so I did wanna ask you this. Did you ever because when you were saying, gosh, what were you saying? I think when you were just talking about the comic book experience, it made me think about this has been something I've been thinking about a lot lately. Like, this last week. I have not thought about this in a long time, and then this, eclipse shit, I've started thinking about this again. But when I was a child, because I 'cause I've been learning all the ways that can see where my highest self was guiding me as a child, even when, I was not in touch necessarily with my intuition, so things were confusing, but
Yeah.
when I was a child, I had the weirdest thoughts. I would sit around thinking about time and space and, like, different versions of me, existing at the same time and then having those moments where we would collide, like, I'm talking, like, 6 years old. I was, like, sitting around just thinking about stuff like that and
Yeah.
thinking about something being in control of my mind that wasn't me, like, all kinds of thoughts like that, and I feel like the awakening that happened in this last couple of years is very tied to the things that I was thinking then, but I'm just now remembering that I used to sit around spending lots of time I kinda thought it was a trauma response because I had so much trauma in my childhood, I thought that's what it was, but I
Mm.
do feel like it was my highest self, like, communicating hope and trying to,
Yes.
like, guide me because those feelings never left, I just thought I was crazy, so did you have anything like that?
Yes, actually, I did. There's been some memory recall that I have. Like, I remember standing in my backyard as a kid and thinking about like the Australian collective. And I tapped into the energy and I was like, oh, we're so restricted. Like, we don't feel like we can just kind of do things. Like I feel like Americans have this kind of really can-do attitude. They're like, I just want to do this thing, and they just go out and do it. It doesn't have to be perfect or planned or whatever. They just kind of like crack on with it. And Australians are very like we have tall poppy syndrome, which is like
Mhm.
where people will cut other people down to try and kind of bring them back down, or crabs in a bucket is kind of another analogy. Like, but I remember tapping into the collective and feeling the energy as a kid, and I know that I spent a lot of time alone, but I still feel like there's a lot that I need to kind of recall and recover as well.
Yeah, I even find it, like, strange that I was literally just thinking about this, like, hours ago and feel the need to even bring it up. Like, I'm thinking
Mhm.
more memories are gonna be coming up, and maybe it really is related to the fact that I haven't gotten any sleep, like, it's like I'm getting, like, an hour nap at a time, but my body's waking up after an hour even when I do, like, get the chance to go to sleep. It either is not letting me fall asleep or waking me up after an hour, so we're in a really good spot here mentally, but I'm now curious about what I'm gonna unearth through memories because I feel like more are coming, but I just felt the need to ask you that because I really did spend an inordinate amount of time pondering other existences that I was a part of, you know?
Well, I feel like, as kids, we're still very kind of close to the veil. Like, um, we don't forget so much about the experience of, like, being God or the universe or, all of the kind of higher knowing, and we forget it through
Mhm.
our programming. So through my work, and iconically, I just made a reel about this on TikTok as well. Through my work, I find that when people process out their emotional body, their mind becomes clearer, but they have memory recall from their childhood. Like, I've seen it in real time. Like, someone expresses something and they're like, "Oh my God, I just remembered this thing from my childhood." And it literally brings back memories as well. And I feel like, like, the fact that you're not sleeping, unfortunately, also is that, like, you get closer to the veil when you don't sleep because you have less resilience. You have your mind just kind of starts bending and hallucinating, quote unquote, which I feel like is kind of getting you closer to the veil.
Okay, so that does make sense why literally when that thing happened last night with my son, I was like, "This is intentional. Like, this isn't happening for no reason. Because I give up. Fine. Fuck it. I don't get sleep right now, fine." But, I mean, because literally, what are the fucking chances that he's just gonna show up at 9:30 at night to do laundry? L It
Hmm.
was just very, like, literally, I was like, "I hear you. I don't know why you don't want me to get sleep, but you don't, so that's fine."
Yeah,
But,
synchronous.
yes, so I'm really glad you're explaining that because I never thought of it that way, and it does make perfect sense why the times that I've had trouble sleeping were there and what I learned through those times. And do you think like, does it resonate to you whenever I say, like, now I can look back? Because I haven't uncovered, like, memories, like, trauma memories, because I feel like those have always been very present. Like, I
Mm,
talked to someone on here that uncovered a memory of sexual abuse. Like, that didn't happen to me because, like, those things are just etched in. Because my shit started at, like, 2 months old, you know?
yeah,
Um, but I have unearthed just times where I'm like, "That was my highest self talking to me."
yeah.
I can think of so many times, and it feels very much like the butterfly effect, you know? Do you am I crazy?
No, you're not crazy at all.
Thought I asked.
Absolutely not. I actually have also had that same experience. Like, I thought that I had kind of a pretty good grasp on all of the impactful events of my childhood, and then I had the sexual abuse memory recall as well come up. So it's kind of scary having or like kind of realizing that you don't necessarily remember everything that's ever
Oh,
happened, but also it's for me, I'm kind of excited. I'm like, what was I tapping into as a child? Because I spent a lot of time alone as a kid as well, just sitting and pondering and presumably tapping into things unknown.
well, and that is what I think so much about recently in terms of, like, dissociating
Mm,
because we view it so negatively, and it really can impact your life negatively. Like, I have a husband who fucking spends way too much time just off in whatever world he has created. I have the child who showed up like that has been that he's a little Pisces ass, and, he's been that way his whole fucking life, just up in the clouds. Um, but I'm starting to see where some of those worlds, like, are now intersecting because he went through a whole spiritual journey through doing a little too many psychedelics, and I think he's in a place now where he's trying to decipher what all of that meant, you know what I mean? And so,
right.
I think about him as a kid and him as a teenager and just how unable he was to stay locked into the present. I mean, because if
Yeah.
you took more than 30 seconds, like, you have to give him little sign back because you can watch his eyes glaze over. Like, I recognize the look now, like, where I'm like, "Hey, where'd you go?" And no one can ever tell me. Like, none of these people in my life that do this to me, like, can tell me where they were. They're just but I feel like if they stay like, especially him, if he stays the course of his spirituality, that he's gonna be able to say, like, there's gonna be a time when he has a memory of those, like, dissociative periods that means something. Well, that probably sounds crazy, but hopefully you know what I'm saying.
No. No, it's not. I don't feel like it's crazy at all. And in fact, both of my parents are Pisces as well, and that's a whole thing. That's a whole like component of my my trauma for sure.
Oh, I bet.
Um, but I have seen Pisces like completely like it's almost to me anyway, it's like they're tapping into the higher awareness of what's going on in front of them, and then you kind of call them back to the present moment, and they're like, I have no idea. And to me, it's like very much a grounding issue because if you don't have
Mhm.
good grounding, then you can't simultaneously have the downloads and be aware of what's going on. And when you have both, that's when you're just tapping into like the ether and you can bring through crazy messages and insights.
Yeah. My daughter is my other son is a Scorpio sun, and my daughter is a Scorpio moon, and, I'm starting to see her she's been raised basically as an only child because the oldest is almost 23, the middle one is 18, and then she's 11, and so she spends a fair amount of time by herself, but I'm starting to see her do this a little bit too, and I'm like, "This is the fucking water in you, I just know it," but 'cause she's a
Hmm.
Gemini sun, me, Virgo rising. So, she's got an interesting little combination of things, and she was talking about how she's having we had parent-teacher conferences last night, and her teachers just don't get her. Because really all she wants is for them to love her and appreciate her strengths, you know what I mean? And they don't.
Yeah.
So, because I get it. I was a teacher once. Like, it's frustrating, but if you can't take every little thing into account and whatever. I'm so tired. I'm gonna go off on a tangent. But, um, it was the first time that she has really talked about zoning out in class and how it's a struggle for her. And so I said, like, "Well, what do you think about whenever you do that?" And she's like, "I don't know." And I was like, "Ugh, another child of mine with fucking ADHD tendencies. Why do you when are we gonna get better about this?" But I sat with myself for a little bit, like, how can I support this better in her than I did with them? Because I had
Hmm.
no understanding of either, like, the human actual physiological stuff going on or the emotional, spiritual stuff when my boys were little or even early adolescence. But for her, I feel like I do have a better understanding, but I don't necessarily know how to meet her needs. You know what I mean?
Yes. I mean, I'm a little biased in the sense that I feel like we should all be doing what is to our highest excitement. And if your kid's not like actually excited about the class, it's really hard, especially now that consciousness is raising amongst the collective. It's really hard to force yourself to tap into something that genuinely doesn't interest you.
Yeah.
That would be my take. It's like, okay, how can I don't know. I feel like school is a bit different now, at least it is in Australia, is like kids are being able to kind of select their interests and modalities a little bit more compared to like when
Yeah.
I was growing up. But
Yeah.
even now, there's just subjects that you're not gonna enjoy, and I feel like your soul knows if it's gonna be relevant to you or not, and you'll
Ooh,
tap
I
out if
agree
it's
with
not.
that. I
Mm,
actually really agree with that. One of the classes that she's struggling in is science, and, there are some parts of her that some parts that they learn that she'll come home all excited to tell me about, and
yep.
honestly, so the way parent-teacher conferences work for her age group is, come and go to because she's in an intermediate school, and so 6th grade, you just go to the teacher and, whatever, and we only saw one because she was so upset by it, she didn't want to go to any more, and I was like, "I support that, let's get the fuck out of here, I didn't wanna come to this shit anyway, because I knew it was gonna
Mhm.
be I knew I know what their expectations are versus what she's giving. And she's giving so much love and she's trying very hard to make them happy. And if they can't see that and appreciate it, she checks out. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
she's the type of child who will respond so easily to just a little bit of like, thank you for being quiet in your seat. Thank you for doing your work, whatever. She's got decent grades. She's got a couple of C's and A's and B's. I don't give a fuck about that. Like, and her C's are even almost B's. I'm not a straight A parent. I don't give a fuck about that. I'm not like preaching perfection. So I was like, y'all are bitchy. So the first teacher that we talked to, she had Charlie fill out a self-assessment on how she was doing in class. And Charlie was honest and said, I don't engage in like whole group in lessons. Like I'm not speaking as a part of those lessons. And
Mm.
so in the car, I asked, like, "Why aren't you talking?" And she's like, "Well, I don't get it. Why would I talk if I don't even understand it?" And in my heart, I was thinking, children aren't gonna engage when you haven't made them feel safe to. So,
Yep.
like, you know? But that is just a very small example of one way that I'm really trying to support her is just to see, like, okay, you don't like science, fuck it. Get your
Yep.
C in science. I don't give a shit, you know, like, because I'm not here
Absolutely.
for it anymore. I cared a lot about perfectionism when my boys were small because I was a very unhealed, wounded person who only cared about how they reflected me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
There
that's
you
the
go.
truth. That's the truth, and I'm very honest with them about that too. Like, when my oldest brings up shit, I'm like, "I know, I'm sorry, God, I'm sorry." Like, I was so stupid, but I wanna do that differently, so I'm really glad that that's your feedback because I'm trying really hard to just meet her where she is, like, "Okay, you're
Yeah.
bored?" I mean, I have talked to her about, like, "Well, I do notice it's your first 2 hours of the day, and I know that you are not going to sleep early enough, so, like, that's
Yes.
something
Well,
you can do to help yourself," you know?
that's the other thing about how our structure, like, I mean, look, we're in a really interesting transition point between this consciousness, like we were kind of operating out of unconscious programming in this very regimented, um, kind of homogenous thing in which we all had to learn the same stuff and on the same schedule and da da da, and we're moving into flow and interest and following your own excitement, and like we're literally right at the crux. So it's a horrific time to be like self-criticizing on all of these things. But um, uh, wait, what was I going to say? I just went blank. Fascinating.
It happens to me all the time.
It just disappeared. But I just do feel like it's kind of a symptom of the last age and moving into the new age. And we can't criticize ourselves in these messy transformational moments. It's like we're literally in the middle of a collective rebirth. And
Mhm.
and we're sitting here being like, how can we do things better? And it's like, well, like, let's all just like let go. Let's all just start listen. I think listening to the kids first and foremost about how they want to do things is one
Yeah.
of the first things that we can do moving into the age of Aquarius that's actually going to facilitate the change a lot better, is hearing
Yeah.
them.
No, I totally agree, and it's been very interesting as a parent to have a child her age and watch her kinda discover her likes and dislikes and just support it, you know, like, whatever it is, because I wasn't even very supportive of likes and dislikes when my boys were small because I had so much fear, like, everything
Mm,
triggered my fear or my shame or both, everything. And so
yeah.
with her, that's what I try never to lean into because I mean, I know I'm still gonna make lots and lots of mistakes. I do on a daily, but I just want she's a Scorpio moon, so I know I've done plenty of damage to her. So we gotta fix it. We gotta fix it. But it's crazy because I had a medium tell me the first time I met a medium, he they always bring her up. Like, my mom is the first to jump out and they always wanna talk about her. And I wanted to talk about that middle one, which we did talk plenty about, but we've had so many conversations about her. And then the last medium that I talked to, there's just I like, it's funny when you have, like, greater understandings than the stuff they said before, you understand it better, you know? And
Mm,
then this medium said the same thing. I finally understood it, and it's basically like, my mom kind of didn't pass her test here, kind of is the simplest way to put it. And so she's still like working overtime, on the other side. Cause I asked, like, is she on my spirit team? Cause I feel her on my spirit team. And they're like, yeah. And then I was like, oh, I can see now how she's helping me to help my daughter, but my daughter's also helping me because I've grown so much watching her get a chance to do things differently,
Yeah.
like even just I like with body issues. I had such body issues growing up because I grew up in a household with someone who weighed 90 pounds, and everyone in the 80s and 90s were encouraged to give their children eating disorders, and having a fat child was the worst kind of child you could have, and I wasn't fat, but God, we were going to make sure that didn't happen. And
Yeah.
so with her, I've made sure no one ever even says the word fat in the house. Like, we don't talk like that. We don't comment on other people's bodies, like, ever, anything. And she has a very good, like, I just think a good relationship with her body. But because of that, she also will wear shit I wouldn't have dreamed of wearing, even as an adult.
Mhm.
And I really struggled with that at first. Like, not outwardly, I never talked to her about it, but I was like having to work through my own shit to allow her to wear like shorts that were so tight and right up her ass and whatever. I mean, there's a dress code at school, so she didn't wear it to school, but I've allowed her to wear whatever the fuck she wants around the house or whatever. But
Mhm.
then that empowered me also to just wear the damn shorts. Like, it's
Yeah.
been really symbiotic thing to grow through something and allow her to be her, but then it also comes right back to me and empowers me to be me. So I can
Yes.
definitely see the tie between like the women in my family and me and her, and feeling that generational healing, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, it does. It literally, like, our all of our trauma, I feel like, comes from generational stories. Like, we just take another layer of it every time there's a generation that passes.
Mhm.
Um, on that note, your daughter's a Scorpio moon, and you said that you messed her up. You must have messed her up in some way. But I feel like it's you, learning the shadow work and learning the digging that's gonna help her, because I amazingly, I just made a post about this as well, is that, I feel like Scorpio moons, their comfort is in the shadow work, like, genuinely. I feel like a lot of Scorpio moons are very suspicious and very untrusting, but the actual evolved, the higher version of that is doing the shadow work, like digging into themselves and other people will theoretically bring them emotional comfort if they actually know how to self-reflect and not take shadow as like a badness or like a guilt.
Yeah. That really just makes me feel like I've come across this newfound acceptance of myself at like the perfect timing for her, you
Mhm.
know? It also just makes me feel a lot better about the trauma I've inflicted on all of my children. She's also between that and her Virgo rising, she is very private. Like, it scares me how private she is because she will not tell you shit unless like I've started just being like, I will do whatever I can to create the safety for her to tell me something, like, no punishment, no whatever, but, like, you gotta talk this
Yeah.
shit out because I know from personal experience that the more insulated you are, the more aggressive you are outwardly. Like, I was so reactive because I just internalized everything, and then I was
Mhm.
just like a rabid dog at all times, which is how I traumatized all my children. Um, but so I've been like, "Holy shit, this is like." I guess I was pretty private too, but I know for me it was like a safety issue. Um, but man, I'm just trying to figure out how to like get her to not hold everything so close to her chest. But it's funny because she'll tell me stuff and then like, for instance, I hope she never hears me say this. Okay, I won't give information because, if she did, she'd be so sad. But she has like a little pretend podcast, and I actually fucking love the name of it, and, I've been kinda, like, secretly trying to encourage her to actually do it, but I asked one day, I said, "Can I tell daddy about that?" And she was like, "No." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I never
Interesting.
have. He will listen to this and hear about it for the first time, but, like, that's why I'm not giving too much information too, because I said I wasn't gonna tell him, but, like, that's to me, like, that was it. it made me feel afraid because I was like, damn, if we can't even share shit like that, like, what the fuck? What are you
Yeah.
hiding? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I
Oh,
100% know what you mean. Scorpio moons, honestly,
like this
uh,
too. Like
in
this, so is this the Scorpio moon or is this the Virgo rising? Which one is this?
I feel like it's a Scorpio moon, to be honest.
Okay.
And I feel like every Scorpio moon that I meet, I'm just like, I mean, I get into people somehow, miraculously. I have this huge 12th house stellium, and theoretically, I should be the most private person on earth, and I'm not. I'm just like, everything's on the table with me.
Uh-huh.
But it is the Scorpio moon. Every Scorpio moon I meet, they are so guarded, and even for me, it takes a lot to get in. Whereas like usually people are incredibly forthcoming with me and they feel very safe to just start opening up. It's 100% the Scorpio moon.
Okay. I'm glad to know which part of her was driving that because when I first kind of realized it, I was like, I feel very afraid of this because there's like I can't know how to help you if you're hiding everything.
Here's the trick, right? With Scorpio moons, I have found that, or Scorpio anythings, but definitely Scorpio moons, is if you open up first, then they feel safe. Like Scorpio
Mm.
is so obsessed with intimacy, but it's very much a like you go first and I will follow you thing.
Mm, that makes so much sense because I told you my oldest is a Scorpio sun.
Hmm.
Um, Actually, I have to tell you this because you're into astrology, so you're gonna get this. This is what's crazy. He and my daughter have the same big 3, but not in the exact place. So he's a
Hmm.
Scorpio sun, Virgo moon, Gemini rising. She's a Gemini sun, Virgo rising, Scorpio moon. They're
Hmm.
so much alike, they drive me fucking crazy because they always have to be right, and they will sit and fight with they're 11 years apart, and they will fight like they're 2 years apart. It's the most frustrating thing, but it's also very fun, and they're both just like me. And I don't even have Virgo or Scorpio in my big 3, but, I got that Virgo stellium, so, but we're all so much alike, so it's really funny. But with him, it's been very interesting to watch because he he's grown and evolved as he's gone through therapy and just, life. Um, but he'll hear me say something over and over and over, and then that will permeate, and then he can integrate that. Like, it can't be me talking to him about it, though. But, like, if he were to
Hmm.
hear the conversation, like, you know how, like, when the universe is really trying to teach you or use you, it's the same theme over and over and over for a short amount of time? Like, that's what I
Yeah.
used to is having the same conversation all week long on this podcast. It was really weird. And he would
Is
hear me saying the same thing and be like, I don't know if I heard this from you or what, but" and then start using it, you know?
is he a manifester or a manifestor generator in human design?
Nope, he's a generator. My daughter is a manifester.
Pure
Me and my boys are
generator.
both generators, and she's a manifester.
That's interesting because I've only really found that pattern in manifestors so far. It's like you'll tell them things 1,000 times and they have to pick it up on their own. He just sounds stubborn. Maybe he's just stubborn.
With me, it's very, like, rebellious a little bit, only with me, but that's because he was not in his childhood, and I was a
Yeah.
very different mom. I got my shit together in terms of criticism with him by middle school, but those early years of all the criticism, like, it fucked him up a little bit, and my inability to be wrong throughout his entire childhood. Like,
Yeah.
that's what he's pushing back against now. So everything I say has to be I cannot say you, I have to say me. Well, for me, blah, 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 and then he can hear me. But, like,
Yeah.
if I'm like, "You know why you do that, right?" Can't say that. Can't say that to him at all because
No.
he will not hear me. But what's interesting with her being a manifester is, like, I've learned through what little understanding I have about human design, um, you can't tell her what to do. And once I learned that, like, I heard it and I was like, "That makes sense because she definitely, gives that." But just accepting that and allowing her that, like, it just changes the way you say things, Like, I'll be like, "Hey, 8 o'clock sound fair for homework? Yes. Or, "Hey, I'd start considering a shower, in about 30 minutes." Things like that. I just instead of being like, "You have to do this at a certain time," I just say, "Is it cool if we do this at that time?" Like, she's gonna do it, but she cannot. It's like painful for her if I tell her what to do.
Yeah,
And I've watched it. So I'm like, I don't need to be right. I don't need to be in charge. I don't need. And if you want children to grow up in touch with their intuition and in touch with their own needs and um yeah, just kind of their vibe and how they work in the world and not to just focus on compliance. We got to give them a chance to practice that shit?
absolutely. Yeah, it is like we all learn best when we are learning from consequence. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I think it's the parent's job to kind of prevent the really egregious consequences. But beyond that, we all could learn moving forward that learning from consequences is literally how we all best learn. Like intervening in someone else's life to try and prevent kind of like bad things from happening or undesirable consequences is genuinely kind of taking the opportunity away from them to learn quickly. It always ends up manifesting in a worse way down the track.
God, you're so right. And I can see how many times I jumped in to rescue all of them, like from
Mm,
whatever disappointment, embarrassment, like just thinking I was doing the right thing versus what I really took from them by trying to have control over those things.
yeah,
And by consequences, just for the audience to know, we're talking about natural consequences, not
yeah,
consequences for us.
correct.
And that's been a journey for me just to be like, because people think that that's the only way for people, including and especially children, to feel accountable is for you to just smash them.
Yeah,
You know what
that's
I'm saying?
punishment.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm like,
Mm,
I just don't think so. Like, I want to do what I can to protect you from the big shit. Like when we were going through stuff with the middle kid, um, some stuff was like I gotta allow him to fuck up a little bit, and then when he took a step too far, I was like, this isn't me punishing you. This is me protecting you from yourself. So, like taking away the phone so he didn't have communication with people that were not good for him at the time.
mhm,
Different things like that I was okay with, but it really was like, "This is a safeguard, and I need you to understand this, like, you're going to get the phone back. I'm not going through your phone. I'm not doing those things, but I know in my spirit you need a break from this shit. You're about to
mm,
step off into some real shit, and we don't need that." So, I'm learning kind of where to put my arms around them and
yeah,
how close to come in and how far to kinda be out, but I'm just constantly in check with my fear, like, what am I afraid of? What am I trying to protect myself from right now? Because
yeah,
that's really what drives so much, especially with my Leo moon ass?
yeah.
It's all
And this
about
is also
me.
like it's classic Virgo energy too. Like Virgos love to kind of intervene and fix stuff in the outside world instead of looking within, because that's where it's all coming from anyway.
I told my fucking son that not too long ago. I was like, he said something about being so analytical, and I said, "Well, they get very annoyed if I talk too much astrology, so I try not to, but that day I didn't care." I said, "That's your Virgo moon ass. Virgo moons love to look at everybody else so they don't have to look at themselves." And he said, "That's probably true." And I was like, "Oh my god, I feel like I just fucking won the lottery because he didn't argue with me and we're getting somewhere." But I was like, "Okay, that's all I'm gonna say because he acknowledged that I knew a little thing." But no, you're right, and that's funny that you said that because I've talked a lot about how much I surrounded myself with emotionally unavailable people so that I never had to show up authentically. I didn't have to be vulnerable. They didn't fucking want me to. They wanted to give me their problems and me listen and try to fix them like I did everything. And then I just completely got to avoid myself.
Yep. Yeah. It is. It's just, again, it's just a symptom of unconsciousness. I feel like the age that we're coming out of, it's like we all just surrounded ourselves with like vibrational people. And the age of Pisces was very much about like enmeshment and kind of like just everyone sharing the burdens of each other in weird kind of shadowy ways and taking on the energy of other people and intervening. And it was codependent. It was enmeshed. It was
Yeah.
all of us kind of being having no boundaries, like the age of Pisces in unconsciousness, having no boundaries whatsoever.
God, you're so right. And just our misunderstanding of boundaries as well.
Hmm.
Like, that's a conversation I've had to have with the middle one about, like, boundaries are about how you're going to respond and not about controlling someone else's behavior.
Hmm.
And, uh, what do you think, like, what advice would you give for people who are kind of awakening and they don't necessarily even understand what they're experiencing? So maybe, like, they're not where we are in terms of consciousness, but they feel like they're different and they can feel the change on the collective level. What how can they help themselves?
How can they help themselves? I mean, go within is the first thing that comes to mind. You know what I mean? It is not, none of this is about, and we're seeing very collectively that everyone's trying to get the outside to change. We're all yelling upward at, the leaders and the collective kind of movements and all kinds of stuff. And it's like anytime you're trying to change something outside of you in any kind of emotionally motivated way that isn't positive, it is something within. You know what I mean? Like it's something shadowy within. And anytime you're trying to do something shadowy within, it's always going to manifest itself like in the opposite way. Because wherever
Yeah.
you put your focus is whatever you're going to create. So
Yeah.
ultimately, it's like go within, self reflect, pull back. Anytime you're heated, pull back. Anytime you are reactive, pull back. Like start thinking about how it is that you are interacting with your world and what you want to create. I think that's my best advice.
Yes, I love that, and it really just confirms so much of the things I've been thinking and feeling really for the better part of a year, but also very recently with all of the things that are happening in America. Um,
Mm.
I get really caught up in certain voices when I feel like what I'm hearing is I'm not doing enough, and so I want very much to be pleasing, so that's a problem, but also I do wanna be an advocate, I do wanna be an activist, but it doesn't feel I'm not feeling led to go do these very vocal things. What I feel very called to do is to continue to do this work within myself and change the world around me one like the ripple effect that the more I give to myself, the more I increase my vibrations, which only helps the people around me, and then they go and do the same. And
Yes.
that like I'm giving a talk at a conference soon, and that is what I'm talking about is the community because I'm talking to a bunch of therapists and I'm talking about the community implications of the therapist doing the work on themselves. Because
Yes.
trying to get the mental health community to understand, like, you have way more work to do. Quit phoning it in. Quit play acting therapy. Do this work on yourself. And that is the real way that we can affect change. And so sometimes I feel so crazy for being so passionate about that. So it's like really nice and important and comforting to have someone say, like, no, that's the way, because sometimes I do feel like I'm not doing enough, but I'm like, you are enough, Melissa.
Genuinely, like two things. First, uh, what doing the inner work is activism from the conscious perspective. Because as you raise your vibration, you raise everyone else's around you. You like anchor more stuff into the earth, and um, all of these things that are happening in America and around the world are reflections of the individual. So we create all of these social movements, the political, everything from the individual level upwards. So doing the work is activism now. And doing what is aligned with your soul, as in like your soul's purpose here and in any given moment, is activism. It is not about getting on board the collective emotional trains. That is like the shadow drain that's going through the collective rather than anything that's actually helpful. Secondly, thank goodness you said that about the therapist, because this has been my like kind of wanted to study psychology my whole life. I didn't because of my mom, and that's a whole thing. She's studied psychology my whole life, but
Oh,
it
yeah.
is
I
so
that drove me
it's oh
crazy.
like therapists cannot heal people unless they've done the inner work. It is just this constant, like, it's like a rat in a labyrinth that doesn't really know what it's doing. They don't lead anyone anywhere.
Right,
It's
they're just
doing the
giving
inner work.
sentences. Like,
Yes,
you know what I'm
it's like
saying?
all talk. Yeah.
No,
And
it
I
is,
feel like
absolutely.
when you do the work, you get healing keys. Like people will get revelations from anyone speaking authentically from a soul centered place. And the only way to get into a soul centered place is by doing the work. And if you don't have that, if you don't have authenticity, you can't actually affect any change. In fact, most likely what's happening is just like a lot of shadow exchange and a lot of like emotional burden being passed from one person to the therapist, which is why they burn out so quickly on, like,
Absolutely.
empathy. Mm,
Absolutely. Yeah, because they don't know what to do with the things that are happening. And this is why I did not do therapy for so long because I don't want to play act shit. It was not until I was not like healed by any means when I became a therapist, but I was very honest about that. And I
yeah,
said, look, I just came out of a mental health crisis and I'm giving you the shit that I am using myself to get better. And I'm very much like, no, for real, I'm a psycho too sometimes. Or, like I tell them the absolute fucking truth about me. But it was when I
yeah,
like really leaned into who I was at my core that I felt safe enough to say, listen, I'm not gonna talk to you any different than I do a podcast guest, my husband, my children. Like you're gonna get me because that's where my magic is. That's where the gift
yes,
is whenever I give
absolutely.
you my experience. And why would I even want to? That's why I can't work with juveniles because it's draining to me to do small talk and they're not ready for the big talk. You know what I mean? Like they're
Mhm,
not coming to me in a way that I feel like I can best serve them because that's not where my magic is.
mhm,
It's not fucking sitting around talking about shit that doesn't matter, and that's what you kinda have to do, and I'm just not good at that. But, like, I know where my sweet spot is, and I'm willing to say, like, I'm not meant for everyone, and not everyone's meant for me, but the more we can feel really safe in who the hell we are, the better work we're gonna do as any type of practitioner. But that's why I was saying truly, I would rather do, like I mean, you're doing therapy. But I would rather be able to do it under this label even than a therapist label because I feel like there's a lot of, like, constraint against what I'm, like, legally allowed to do or ethically or whatever,
yeah,
you know what I mean? And I don't know, I wanna do more. I would rather talk to people who are where I am spiritually instead of people who are still very religious and things like
mhm,
that, because I have to hold my tongue a little bit. Like, I'll usually say, "Yeah, I think that's just your religious programming," but then I have to stop there. You know what I mean? Like, because 'cause they're still
mhm,
practicing religion, they still believe in it, whatever, and I'm not judging them, I'm really not, but we can only go so far if that's your belief system. You know what I mean?
yes.
Like, I'm trying to expand your fucking consciousness, and we can't do that as long as you believe what you believe, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and people have to be ready to let go of the beliefs in order to actually heal ultimately, like the negative beliefs. And if they aren't ready to, which is always a symptom of them feeling like the belief is still serving them. You know what I mean? Ultimately.
Yep.
Uh that being said, I did have the intuitive nudge that if you worked through your religious programming, you might have better keys for those shackles, so to speak.
True.
Um
I know, I really do need to start working through this because it's just been hit on me, like, this last week, like, "You're a little too triggered by this." You know what I mean?
yeah. Yeah. Well, everything you've said, like, I feel like your authenticity, it, like, coming into therapy and just being like, look, I'm mental too. That is healing in and of itself. Authenticity is healing. Like,
Yeah,
that's the most
I
healing
agree.
thing is authenticity and where you're at and honoring that.
Yeah, and I used to mean that in a different way when I would say, like, resistance keeps us stuck, um, and now I just know, like, I have to honor my humanity in all that I do, and my humanity means I'm gonna be stupid sometimes, and while I'm still really anchored to my highest self, and just that balance and the flow that happens when you're in touch with both of those parts of you at all times instead of leaning too much to one or the other, because
Hmm.
we've seen our fair share of spiritual bypassing too. That drives me nuts as well. So,
Hmm.
I I'm just doing my best, and I'm really accepting what my best is any given day. Like I used
Yeah.
to really care on days where I had this type of brain fog and I couldn't reach for words as easily or whatever. I care, but only enough to, like, voice the insecurity out loud to whoever I'm talking about, and then I'm just gonna move on from it because, like, I don't know, it sets a tone where I'm saying, "Hey, I'm gonna be vulnerable enough to tell you I'm feeling a little insecure because 'cause I'm gonna worry a little bit that you think I'm stupid because I'm having trouble with word recall," or whatever the case may be, and then I'm just gonna move on. I can let it go once I've verbalized it, whereas before it would
Yeah.
have really eaten me up?
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, it's acknowledging the elephant in the room at the end of the day, which is what puts people at ease because everyone can sense like every energetic thing that's going on in the ether, whether they're conscious of it or not. And sometimes you'll just like feel on edge, and it kind of like bringing it up just kind of shoots it in the face. So it's all done and dusted.
It takes away the power. I mean, that's why they say shame dies in safe spaces, because anytime
Hmm.
you are able to verbalize something, all the power in it leaves. I can't
Mm.
That's why I worry about my daughters holding shit in, because all the times I've held shit in and let it have such a hold on me, releasing the energy of it once I finally talk about it, oh my god, what a powerful experience?
Hmm.
Just the dumbest shit that I was like, "I can't believe I was that ashamed." Like, a stupid example of that is, when you have long hair, when you're washing your hair and it sheds, it'll get in your ass crack. I didn't realize that's where the hair was coming from, like, as a teenager, as a fucking young adult. Until one day I was talking to a friend about finally, I'm like, "What but, like, what about, like, the hair in your ass? Like, what?" And she's like, "That's just that's just from shedding." She's like, "You thought you were growing hair that long in your ass?" I was like, "I did. I did think that, and it was very confusing." She's like, "No." And I was like, "I'm so glad we talked about this because I really did." And I was so ashamed to grow hair out of my ass that long.
Well, there you go. You found your safe space.
Exactly. You gotta find your safe space. Man, I could talk to you, like, for hours. I know it's really late there, but where can we find you? I know you hate
Primarily,
Instagram.
yeah, I hate Instagram. You can contact me on Instagram. You can talk to me on Instagram. That's pretty much the only reason I have it. I'm on TikTok at v.asimov. That's Asimov, and my website, which is vasimov.com, I believe. I forget these things.
I have it open, but it's not telling me what the website is. I'll make sure I include those links in my show notes.
Emotionally unavailable.
Hey, make sure you've given the show a 5-star rating on whatever platform you're listening to if you haven't already. And check out my website, empoweredwithmelissahepner.org, or my link tree on Instagram at melissa.hepner to check out my latest offers or workshops. All right, that's it from me. So make sure that you check out the show notes for links. And until next time, let's all just keep swimming.
Emotionally unavailable.
INDEPE and cut.